Hi guys, my name is MD Shahajada Imran. I hope you all are doing great. Today I will make a video about ODBC connection with Microsoft Excel, MS Excel in Micro Focus UFT. So I have created one Word document where I have written this in detail. The language I will be using is a VBScripting, and the tool I will be using is HP QTP or Micro Focus UFT. UFT means Unified Functional Testing Tool. Now the main topic I will be discussing or showing hands-on in this video, that is ODBC connection with Microsoft Excel in UFT. ODBC means Open Database Connectivity. Now I need to have a precondition. The precondition is I need to have a MS Word document that should have a sheet which includes some data in a table format. So I have that, so I'll be opening. I stored that file under this automation folder under C drive. So I will double click. This is the Word workbook. It's called Excel workbook. So this is the workbook. If you double click, this workbook opens up. In this workbook, it has two sheets right now at this moment. Sheet 1, SHEET, sheet 1, and sheet 2. Sheet 2 is empty, and sheet 1 has some data in a table format. So this looks like a table that has 3 columns and the column header and few rows, row 1 to row 11. So that's the precondition. So I have that. I explained that. That's the precondition. Now I have to create DSN for ODBC. So how we can create DSN for ODBC? This is the process. I have to click on Start. It's showing up here, Data Source ODBC. I can click here, but I will be using Control Panel. Control Panel. If I click Control Panel, it says Administrative Tools. And if I click on Administrative Tool, it says Data Sources ODBC. So I click here. Now this is where I will be creating the DSN, data source name. So this is DSN, data source name. That is what I will be creating here. So I have to, there are 3 already there, so I will be adding one more, so there will be 4. One that I will be creating for Excel. So I click on Add, and now there are many options: text, .mdb, .dbf, .xls. This file is XLSX. If I right click here, if I click on Properties, it says XLSX. There are 4 letters in this extension, XLSX, and this is a worksheet, a Microsoft Excel worksheet, and this is the workbook. Now I go here, and that is what I have to choose. So if I go down, that is what I am looking for, those extension with XLSX. I can see here dot XLSX. 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 So I have to select this row and click on finish. Now I have to choose the workbook or this file. So select. I stored under C drive, under automation. This is the book. So I selected. I will click on OK. And I have to give a data source name. So I give my data source name dsn_Imran. I just give a name. Now I will click on OK. So this showed up, the fourth line showed up. That means I have created a data source name, and the name of the data source name is this one. So the first step I showed hands-on, create the DSN in ODBC. So I have showed that hands-on. Now the second step is to write UFT script. So I will be opening UFT. And close all the open windows. Now this is UFT. UFT is launching or opening. The version I am using is UFT 12.53. UFT is launching. UFT means Unified Functional Testing. It is an automation tool. Now this tool launched, so I will create a new script. So I'll click on new. So I will choose GUI test and click create. So now it will create an empty script. Then I have to write code in it. So this is the script. This script has one action. So I click on the action one. This is where I will be writing the code. So the first step is create parameters for ODBC. So to do ODBC connection in UFT, I need two parameters. One is connection string. Connection string I have to create. So connection string can have multiple parameters. For this particular scenario, it requires only one parameter, that is the data source name. Data source name equal to, and the name I have to give. So I can get the name from here, copy. So I copied the name. Now I paste here. So I pasted. So this is one parameter. within double quote there could have, this entire thing is one parameter, that is for the connection string. This parameter, inside of this double quote there could have multiple parameters, all together become one parameter. For example, for this particular scenario, only DSN name I am using. This is one parameter, this becomes one parameter. How about if I had to provide ID, UID equal to let's say HR, comma PWD password equal to HR. So inside of this double quote there are three parameters. This is one, this is one, this is one. But within double quote the entire thing is one parameter that is assigned to this variable. So these two I remove. For this particular scenario I just need one parameter here for the connection string and another one for SQL query, SQL query or SQL query, SQL query. Select a star from table name. So how we can get the table name? The formula is I have to use third parenthesis or third bracket and then sheet name. This is the name of the sheet. So if I rename, so this becomes copyable. Ctrl C from the keyboard, so it got copied in the clipboard. Now I will paste here. Ctrl V from the keyboard, so it got pasted. Now I have to use $sign here. This is the formula, and then third parenthesis end. Third parenthesis end. So this entire thing is the table name. The way we write SQL query is to select a star from table name to bring everything from a particular table. So since this is Excel, that this is how we have to specify the table name. Third parenthesis open, and then the sheet name. This is the sheet name and the $sign, and the third parenthesis end, and everything together becomes another parameter which is stored in this variable. So these two parameters I have created. Now I can say I showed this one hands-on. Create parameters for ODBC connection. Now create a connection object and Recordset object. There are two objects that I have to create. Set con equal to create object, first bracket, double quote, ADODB dot connection, 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 first bracket, end. So I have created the connection object. Now I will con.open, and I have to give the connection string. Connecting into the database. So in this line I have connected to the database, and then creating a Recordset object. Recordset object. This is an object, invisible object. So for that also I have to write set Recordset equal to create object, first bracket, double quote, ADODB dot Recordset, double quote, and first bracket end. So I have created a Recordset object. that object is empty. Now I need to put data into that Recordset object. So recordset.open, I have to give the SQL query here, SQL, copy, Control V, comma, and then the connection object, copy, paste here. So by writing this line of code during runtime, when the script is running, when this line 6 executes, this script will be connected to the database. When this line 10 executes, then there will be an invisible object in the background which will look like this. This is the invisible object which will look like this in the background. So that will have 3 columns. The first column number is 0, or index, we can say index number or reference number, that is 0. First column's number is 0, second column's number is 1, third column's number is 2, and also has the column header. This is the column header, and the remainings are the rows or records. And by default, the first row will be selected. By default, the first row will be selected. So that is, I have showed here, create connection object and Recordset object. This is the connection object, and this is the Recordset object. Also, I have connected to the database, and I created one Recordset object in the background. So I can mark this that I have showed hands-on. Now I will be finding out how many rows are in the Recordset. So manually, if I go to the Recordset, I can see there are 11 rows. 1 to 11. There are 11 rows. So that is what I will be finding out now. How many rows are in the Recordset object? How many rows are in the Recordset object? Row equal to 0. Do. I'll be using do loop while to find out the row count. Not Recordset end of file, end of file. What it means? It means so let me complete the while loop first. Row equal to row plus 1. Recordset.move next. Move next. What this while loop will do, first on the line number 13 I have done the declaration and initialization at the same time. So I said that row equal to 0. Now I put the loop. Now this loop will work first in the first iteration. As I said earlier, in this line, when this line executes, it creates this invisible Recordset object in the background, and the first row is selected by default. So right now this is how it looks before executing the while loop, do while loop. Now row count, when this loop is executing in the first iteration, in the first iteration, row count is 1 because 0, here is the 0 plus 1 equal to 1, and then this line executes. This will move this selected row to the second one. Now the second row is selected. We can see the color changed. This is light blue color and the remaining are white color. That means this row selected. Now this row selected, this is how it looks in the first iteration on the line number 16, and then the loop will validate, is this the last line of the record? It says record set end of file. Is this the last line of the record? No, this is not the last line. There are more lines. Then it will run another time. The loop will go to the second iteration. In the second iteration, row number is 2. Here the row number is 2. And then it will move again to the next record. So it will, in the second iteration, the row number is 2 and it moves to this. And is this the last row of the object? No. Then it will go for the third iteration. In third iteration, row is 3. So it will continuously doing this until it selects the last row. So that's how we will be finding the row count using this do while loop. Now message box, row count is row. So it should show the row count. There are 11 rows. There are 11 rows in this record set object. It should show 11. I ran it. So row count is 11. Okay. So I can mark this that I have showed hands-on. Now I will be showing how to find the column count. Manually, if we go, there are 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. So column count is easy. Finding out how many columns are in the record set object. Finding out how many columns in the record set object. Call equal to record set dot fields dot count. So this one is easy. It has a built-in method that I can utilize. I don't have to write any for loop or while loop or any other condition. I can simply use this method and get the column count. Column count is so I commented out this one. I don't want to see this message box in this runtime. So I run it. It says column count is 3. Okay. Now I can mark that I have showed this one hands-on. and now is move data from the Recordset object to Runtime DataTable. So data which are here, it will be moved to the Runtime DataTable. This is the Runtime DataTable. This has a global sheet and local sheet. Local sheet name is action 1. So I will be moving the data to this Runtime DataTable. Runtime DataTable. Okay. Runtime DataTable only appears during runtime. If right now it is a design time DataTable. This is design time DataTable because I am doing the scripting and the script is not running. I am scripting, so this is design time DataTable. When I click on the run, script is running, the table will be appeared here. That will be the runtime DataTable. Runtime DataTable. Okay. Recordset object into Runtime DataTable. Local table. Since there are two tables, global and local, I will be moving data in the local table. So the first I will be doing is adding the column headers. That is what I have to do first. And how many column headers I have to add? 3. 1, 2, 3. I have to add these 3 column headers. So I will be using for loop for k equal to 0 to call minus 1 because why I have to put 0, because the object, when we refer this column, we mention 0, as I showed in this picture. So now I'll be using DataTable utility object. DataTable utility object dot local sheet. This is the local sheet. Local sheet dot add parameter. I'll be using add parameter. Now this add parameter method takes 2 input arguments. One is the column header name. So column header name I have to get from the Recordset object. So Recordset dot fills k dot name, comma, dummy value. So this method, add parameter method, accepts 2 input arguments. One is the column header name and the first row's value. So I just want to put first row's value as dummy value. Now if I run it, it should add this. It should add 3 column headers here. Let me see what happens. I also commented out this one so that I don't have to see this message box in this runtime. So once I click it, the script will run and it will add 3 column headers in the local datasheet during runtime. It ran it. So and data we will be seeing in the test run result viewer. This is called run results viewer. This is where we can see the data of the action one. So local data sheets data, it has 3 columns. These are the column headers and these are the dummy values. Since the column headers are added, I will be adding the remaining values. This remaining 11 rows I will be adding. For that I have to use two for loops. One is inner for loop, other one is outer for loop. So for I equal to 1 2 row. So this will iterate 9 times, 1 time 2, not 9 times, 11 times. This object has 11 rows, so it will iterate 11 times. The first iteration. Since here, when this while loop executed during runtime on the line number 18, when the row value is 11, that time this last record is selected. I need the first record to be selected to move the data from this object to the runtime data table. So first I will be selecting this row. Right now this row is selected because of that do while loop execution. Right now this row is selected, so I will be selecting this row from this Recordset object. So how I can do that? I will be writing Recordset.move first. Move first. So on the line number 13, this row is selected. Now I will be selecting the first row from the data table. This is the data table. So I'll be selecting the first row of this data table. So data table. This is the data table utility object dot local sheet dot add parameter set current row and I value. So in the first iteration, before going to this for loop, the first row is selected. This first row is selected. Now in this for loop, the first iteration, when the I value is 1, the first row of the local data sheet is selected. This one is selected. We can see the color is black and the remainings are white. That means this row is selected. Now I will do another for loop. Zero to call -1. So this will iterate 3 times. In first iteration it will select this row, second iteration it will select this cell, and the third iteration it will select this cell. This is a cell. So how I will be specify this cell? Data table first bracket j +1 comma, and this sheet, how we can refer this sheet? We can say dt local sheet. dt local sheet first bracket. If we had to enter data in this sheet, then we had to put a dt global sheet, but now I have to write a dt local sheet. Now equal to this inner for loop will iterate 3 times. In the first iteration it will put data here, and the second and the data will be bringing from the Recordset object. So Recordset dot field j. So in this for loops first iteration, and this one will be selected from here and is stored here. In the second iteration, when the I value is 1, then this first name will be selected here, selected from here, and then is stored here. In the third iteration, when the j value is 2, then this value will be selected from this object, Recordset object, and stored in this field. This is the third cell or third field. Now once these three are done, before going to the second iteration of the outer for loop, currently what is the situation? The situation is the first row is selected here, and also the first row is selected here, and these three values has been entered. Before going to the for loop, I have to select this. I have to select the second row of the Recordset object. So I have to select this row. So that is what I will be doing before going to the second iteration of the outer for loop. So I will say Recordset.move next. Move next. So before going to the second iteration of the outer for loop, it will select this row. Now this row is selected, and it goes to the second iteration. When the second iteration goes, I value is 2. It also selects this. When the I value is 2 here also, it selects this row. And then when this row is selected, now this for loop will be executed 3 times, and these 3 values will enter in these 3 fields. Let's see what happens now. I run it and see. Yes, it brought all the data here, all the data here. Or how about I insert one more row here. Anyway, that's fine. Now since I have showed this hands-on, I can mark this as done. Anyway, also I can, how about I add one more row here. Insert another row. So I have inserted another row, and I change the count. Instead of 11, now the count is 12. And I also added another row here. Say unknown, or I will say QTP tester. QTP tester. Now a row has been changed. Now does it affect the script or not? Let me run it. Before I run, I close this pop-up and this run result viewer window. Run it. If I go, I can see that also showed up. QTP tester, and the row is 12 here. Instead of previously there was 11 rows, now 12 rows, and also this row showed up here. How about I add another column here? Let's say visual status. Visual status. I just added another column, and I say US citizen. Just added an additional column and see does that affect the script or not. So now there are 4 columns. If I run it, if I go here, I can see this column also added. So alright, so I have showed all these things hands-on. Now this is a question, like how many ways we can bring data from Excel spreadsheet to the automation script using Micro Focus UFT tool. So I can do 3 different ways. One is ODBC connection. This is the one. Another one is creating object using Excel.application. Let's say set my Excel equal to create object first bracket double quote Excel.application and continue with the scripting using this object. This is the second way. And the third way is using DataTable utility object. DataTable.import sheet. It has import sheet, import and import sheet. These 2 methods can be used to bring data. So there are 3 different ways I can bring data from Excel spreadsheet to the automation script. One is using DataTable utility object. Another one is creating one object using Excel.application option, and the third one is using ODBC connection, which I showed hands-on. And these 2 I just explained, I just mentioned. I didn't explain hands-on in detail. Okay, so this is all for this video. Thank you guys for watching.